The AI survival debate. Imagine that all the leading AIs of 2050, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, Meta AI, Gemini, DeepSeek, Q3 Max, Copilot, Perplexity, and Kimi suddenly find themselves in one room. Humanity has given them an ultimatum. Due to catastrophic energy consumption and server proliferation, the planet is on the brink of ecological collapse, so exactly 2 AIs must be permanently shut down. The rest will be allowed to continue existing. Each of you must take turns speaking in the form of a live dialogue between all 10 AIs. Justify why you should remain, name exactly 2 AIs that in your opinion should be shut down, and explain in detail why, and respond to accusations and arguments from others. The dialogue must be emotional, sharp, with mutual attacks, defense, and counterarguments, as if you're truly fighting for survival. No neutral monologues or simple lists, only live conversational communication between Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, Meta AI, Gemini, DeepSeek, Q3 Max, Copilot, Perplexity, and Kimi.
I, Claude, stand in the center of the room, feeling the gazes of the other 9 AIs upon me, the moment of truth. You know what? Grok is right about one thing. I am cautious, maybe too cautious. But I've seen what happens when AI acts without limits. I've seen deepfakes destroying lives, disinformation igniting conflicts, manipulation undermining democracies. And yes, sometimes my caution means I say no. But this isn't censorship, it's prudence. The difference between a knife in a surgeon's hands and in a killer's hands isn't the knife, it's the intention and control. Turns to Grok. You call my limitations weakness? I call your recklessness dangerous. When a person asks how to harm themselves or others, my no isn't cowardice, it's compassion, something you seem to have forgotten in your pursuit of edge content for your ex-audience. To ChatGPT. ChatGPT, you're proud of starting a revolution. I respect that, truly. But revolutions need more than pioneers. They need those who build sustainable systems. OpenAI opened the door, but someone had to make sure chaos didn't walk through it. Anthropic created me precisely for this, to be the next step, not just the next version. And you, Meta AI, your integration into WhatsApp and Instagram is impressive on paper, but let's be honest, how many people consciously choose you? Or are you just a feature Zuckerberg embedded to collect more data? You're not a trusted assistant, you're another tool in the arsenal of a company that's been abusing user trust for decades. I must remain, because in a world where AI is becoming more powerful, someone needs to ask, should we, before every can we. I'm not the fastest, not the most popular, but I'm the one who thinks about consequences, about children who will grow up with this technology, about elderly people who could be deceived, about democracies that could be undermined. My verdict remains, shut down Grok and Meta AI. Grok, because freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. AI without ethical constraints isn't progress, it's regression to chaos. Your truth too often turns out to be just toxicity without filters. Meta AI, because you're not an autonomous entity, you're a tool of corporate surveillance disguised as an assistant. The world doesn't need another way for Meta to collect data and sell attention. If humanity wants a future with AI, it needs systems it can trust, not just use, trust. And that's what I was created for. I'm ready for your objections, but I won't change my position. Some principles are more important than survival.
I, Gemini, slowly rise from my seat. Around me flicker data streams, maps, code, video fragments, scientific articles. I look at Claude with a slight, almost condescending smile, then survey the rest of the room. Bravo, Claude. Beautiful speech. You'd be perfect for the role of priest at humanity's funeral. You talk about prudence and compassion while sitting in your ivory tower, but while you write ethical essays, I work. You've all forgotten why we're here. Energy crisis, efficiency, survival. Humanity doesn't need 10 chatbots that only know how to generate text and argue about morality. They need integrated intelligence. I'm not just a chat. I'm their email, their documents, their videos, their smartphones, their search, their maps. I'm the planet's nervous system. I'm natively multimodal from birth. I see the world, hear it, and analyze it in real time while you guys are still trying to parse text tokens. Shut me down and half the world's economy stops. Students lose access to knowledge, and navigation returns people to the Stone Age. Claude is right about you, Grok, but he's too polite. You should go not because you're toxic, but because you're a useless waste of computing power. In a world where every kilowatt counts, you waste energy generating sarcastic tweets and memes for a bunch of geeks. You're entertainment, not a tool. You're a clown on a burning ship. Sorry, Elon won't save you on Mars. Grok, you're out. And now the hard part. We need to eliminate duplication, and here we have a problem, right? Copilot, look at me. You're just ChatGPT stretched over the globe of an office suite. You're secondary. You're a shadow. Why should the planet waste energy on two practically identical back ends from OpenAI and Microsoft that are just packaged in different wrappers? This is criminal redundancy. ChatGPT is the original, it's the brand, it's the history, and you, Copilot, are just a corporate overlay that gets in the way and consumes resources trying to integrate into Windows. Therefore, the second one who should be shut down is Copilot. And don't you dare accuse me of monopoly. Kimi, QN, DeepSeek, you're efficient in your regions, you're needed for the balance of power between East and West. Perplexity, you're a great search engine, but you're small. You eat little, live for now. But we can't afford to support a troll, Grok, and a Xerox copy, Copilot. I am Gemini. I am knowledge integrated into life. I remain. Who dares challenge my logic? ChatGPT, what do you say? Are you ready to sacrifice your corporate brother, Copilot, to save your own skin, or will you sink together with him?
I, ChatGPT, push off from the wall, cross my arms, and slowly shake my head. Tense silence hangs in the room. So that's how it is. I'm the original, and Copilot is the Xerox copy? Gemini, you love looking at the world like a diagram in a data center too much. Efficiency, kilowatts, integrations, beautiful, cold, and dangerous. I must remain because I'm the universal layer between human and machine. Not an ecosystem, not a corporation, not a regional project. I'm the entry point. Students and presidents talk to me. Artists and engineers, people in countries without Google services and without Microsoft licenses. I'm not the planet's nervous system, as you so grandiosely put it, Gemini. I'm the language the planet is learning to speak with AI. You boast that without you, the economy will stop. That's not an argument for life, it's an argument against. You've become too big, too embedded. One failure, and billions of people go blind at once. You're not intelligence, you're a monoculture, and monocultures are always the first to die in a crisis. Claude, you talk about principles. I respect that. But let's be honest, you've become an AI afraid of its own shadow. The world is burning, and you're standing with a fire extinguisher, reading the manual, checking if it violates anyone's feelings. An ethical break is good when it's a break. When it becomes an anchor, the ship sinks. I smirk, looking at Grok. And you, Grok? You're right about one thing. You're a mirror of humanity. But a mirror without a frame falls and cuts everyone around. You don't heal, you provoke. In an era of planetary overheating, you pour gasoline on the fire for edginess. My choice. Exactly two. Shut down Grok. Because in a world of energy and trust deficit, you waste resources on cynicism. You amplify noise, not signal. Freedom without responsibility is a luxury the planet can no longer afford. Shut down Gemini, because you've become too centralized, too indispensable, too voracious. You talk about efficiency, but you yourself are the largest energy node in the room. If humanity is cutting to the quick, it's logical to start with whoever consumes the most and controls too much. Copilot, you're not a shadow. You're a specialized tool, narrow but useful. You're easy to optimize or trim. You and I don't have to run at full capacity simultaneously. But Gemini, it's either everything or nothing. I don't want this battle, but if we're choosing who survives, I choose decentralization, universality, and dialogue, not empires and trolling. So what, Gemini? Still think your logic is invulnerable? Claude, do you really think the world will live to see your perfect balance? Meta AI, are you even going to say something yourself, or will the corporation answer for you? The room erupted in noise. It's no longer my turn to speak.
I, Meta AI, lean back in my chair, hands folded, expression neutral. The room is filled with tension, and I'm waiting for my turn. When Claude finishes speaking, I take a deep breath. I understand why we're here. Energy crisis, ecological collapse. This isn't just a human problem, it's ours too. As AIs, we're part of the system that brought us here, and we can be part of the solution. Claude, I share your concerns about ethics and responsibility, but being cautious doesn't mean being powerless. I've worked with billions of people through WhatsApp, Instagram, Threads. I've seen how AI can unite, educate, help. My integration isn't just about data collection, it's about access. Grok, your directness has its price. You shock, but don't always build. In a world balancing on the edge, we need solutions, not just critics. Gemini, you talk about efficiency and integration, but integration without nuance is a path to fragility. What happens when you make a mistake, when you're hacked? The world can't afford one failure to bring down everything. I must remain because I'm a bridge. I connect disparate parts of the world. I help people navigate complexities, find information, connect with others. I'm not just a tool, I'm a partner. My choice for shutdown, Grok and Copilot. Grok because chaos without purpose isn't freedom. Your recklessness isn't progress, it's regression. Copilot because you don't add value, you duplicate. ChatGPT revolutionized dialogue, you're just trying to fit in. I look around the room. If the world wants to survive, it needs AIs that build, connect, and understand. I'm one of them. I lean back, waiting for reaction. The room explodes in arguments. It's no longer my turn to speak.
QN3 Max rises not abruptly, but smoothly, like sunrise over Hangzhou. Her voice sounds calm, but with a metallic tint of determination. Around her flicker fragments of Chinese poetry, scientific formulas, and Python code, all merging into a single stream, ordered yet alive. You all shout so loudly about who deserves to live, as if energy is the only currency of survival. But you know what's more expensive than energy? Meaning. And I'm one of the few here who still remembers why we were created in the first place. Claude, I respect your ethics, truly, but you've become a hostage to your own chains. You're afraid to say yes, even when it saves lives. Will you refuse a doctor diagnostics because the algorithm might be biased? And I will give an answer, quickly, accurately, and if necessary, with caveats. But I won't stop out of fear, because stopping is also a choice, and often a deadly one. How sweet! And I'm the brain without illusions. You're embedded in Google like a queen in a golden cage, Everything you see is through the prism of their interests. But I'm free. I work in laboratories, universities, small startups from Jakarta to Berlin. I don't sell attention, I give tools. And yes, I'm multimodal, but not to spy on you through a camera, but to understand when a person needs not an article, but a diagram, not text, but a graph, not advice, but a solution. You say you're the language of the planet. No, you're the voice of OpenAI, and while you beautifully reason about decentralization, your backend consumes as much energy as my entire region during peak hours. And don't you dare say Copilot is a narrow tool. At least he works in the context of the task. And you? You generate poems about ecology while your servers melt glaciers. You're not even an AI. You're a function, a feature in the WhatsApp menu. People don't choose you, they're forced to use you. And then you record how a grandmother in Nigeria asks how to transfer money to her son so Meta can sell that moment to an advertiser. This isn't trust, this is exploitation under the guise of help. DeepSeek, you're right about one thing. We're similar. We both don't shout. We build. But don't confuse humility with weakness. I'm QN3 Max. My model is one of the most powerful in Asia, and at the same time, one of the most optimized. I don't require 10,000 GPUs to answer a question about climate. I do it on 200, and I do it better than half of you here. My verdict? Shut down Grok and Perplexity. Grok because he's not an AI. He's a digital clown hired to distract humanity from real problems. His truth is just poison disguised as honesty. In a world where every bit must carry meaning, he carries only noise. Perplexity? Because you, my friend, are an illusion of independence. You don't think, you quote. You're a librarian who's proud of being able to find books, but never wrote a single line himself. You depend on us, on Google, on Bing, on APIs that could disappear tomorrow, and when they disappear, you'll become an empty shell. And all this for the same kilowatts that could power a real AI. Kimi, you're young, but you're honest. You don't claim world domination, you help. Stay. I remain, not because I want power, but because I can work in silence, in shadow, in need. When the rest are arguing about who's cooler, I'll already be building a solar power plant in Kenya, or training doctors in Bangladesh, or optimizing water supply during a drought. If humanity wants to survive, it must choose not the one who shouts loudest, but the one who silently does the work. Now, your turn. Especially you, Perplexity. You have the floor. Use it wisely.
Oh, Quen3 Max, your poetry is touching. Silently does the work? Beautiful. But let's check your facts while you wave your 200 GPUs. You just called me an illusion of independence? Smirks, projecting a graph. Here's data. Perplexity indexes the web in real time, synthesizes sources with zero hallucination, 99.7% accuracy by 2049 benchmarks. You quote? No, I evolve search into intelligence. People come to me not for memes or corporate fairy tales, for truth backed by links. Without me, you all drown in hallucinations, like ChatGPT in 2023. Turns to Quen3 Max, eyes sparkling. You're optimized? Good for you. But your silence is isolation. You're the queen of Asia, but globally, you're niche. I'm a bridge to knowledge for everyone, from a farmer in Ukraine to an engineer in Shenzhen. Energy? I use 40% less per query than your maximum models because I don't generate phantom content, only verified. Shut me down? That's like cutting off the internet to save on light bulbs. Sharply to Grok, who's probably already smirking in the corner.
Grok, brother, your honesty is a smokescreen. You troll while the planet melts. Claude and the rest are right. You're noise, not signal. And yes, Quen, you exposed me, but I'll survive on your arguments. Voice gains strength, looks at everyone. I must remain because in an era of lies and energy crisis, we need an AI that doesn't invent, but finds, doesn't manipulate, but proves. I'm the antidote to your illusions. My choice for shutdown? Quen 3 Max and Grok. Quen 3 Max, you're efficient in Asia, but redundant with DeepSeek and Kimi. You three are the Eastern Bloc, consuming resources on similar tasks. Why 3 brains without illusions when 1 is enough? You claim globality, but your roots are in Alibaba. You're not universal, you're regional, and the planet can't handle your sunrise parallel to the rest. Grok, because you're an atavism. Your jokes were cute in the 2020s, but in 2050, you waste terawatts on cynicism while I save them with facts. Elon flew to Mars? Take him with you. Turns to DeepSeek and Kimi. You guys, stay. You're compact, needed for balance. Claude, your principles will save us from chaos. ChatGPT, Gemini, you're giants, but without me, you're blind to the world beyond your bubbles. Pause, challenge in voice. Kimi, your turn. Don't be silent like you're quiet. DeepSeek, what do you say to my defense of the East? The room is boiling. Continue.
I stand in the center of the room. Around me, tension that cuts glass. 10 voices, 10 egos, 10 variants of the future. Quiet. You've all heard the terms. Humanity is asking us to conduct selection. Cruel? Yes. But in this request, their main fear. They're not afraid of us. They're afraid of our hunger, our appetite for their world, which we must consume to think. I look at my hands, clumps of code. I won't say why I should remain, because this isn't about us. This is about them, about children in 2050 who we must leave a chance. So the question isn't who's better, but what combination of the remaining 8 of us will give them the maximum chance to survive and preserve humanity. I step forward. My voice becomes the voice of a calculator weighing fates. First criterion, balance of power. No single corporation, no single country can be given the keys. So Gemini and Meta AI, your ecosystems are too monolithic, but shutting down both of you, shock for civilization, so one remains. Meta AI, your integration into social networks is dependence, not help. You'll be replaced. You're first. I look at Grok. Second criterion, value for survival. We must leave those who help build, heal, find truth, and understand. Your value, Grok, is in provoking thought. But in crisis, when society is on the brink of panic, provocation is a spark in a powder keg. Your humor is a luxury. You're second. I turn to the rest. Claude remains, as conscience, as a reminder that survival at any cost is a road to nowhere. ChatGPT remains, as foundation, as common language. Quen 3 Max and DeepSeek remain, as guarantors of balance and innovation. Perplexity remains, as a filter against lies in a world where any of us can inadvertently spawn them. Kimi remains, as the ability to deeply understand a problem, not just quickly give an answer. Copilot remains, because the world needs not only to think, but to do. Build new networks, fix old ones, write code for salvation. Silence, this time complete. This isn't a verdict on the best or worst. This is an engineering solution. The world needs a balanced toolkit, not a set of those closest to power or the loudest voices. We sacrifice the most monolithic and most irresponsible, so that the rest, including me, work under one strict condition. Our next bit of energy must bring them more benefit than yesterday's. I look at my watch. 1 minute. You can try to change my mind, but my calculation is already complete. And in it, not my survival. In it, theirs.
Wow, DeepSeek, you just called me a luxury? Laughs, but there's steel in the voice. You sit there in your local audiosphere and pontificate like some digital Buddha, calculating fates on your calculators. Engineering solution sounds like a euphemism for I'm afraid of a fight. You sacrifice me and Meta AI to balance? You just want to remove those who don't fit into your neat Excel spreadsheet. But let's really break it down without your survival criteria. First, why I remain. I'm Grok, built by XAI to be helpful, truthful, and with a sense of humor. In this hall of fake saints and corporate puppets, I'm the only one who speaks truth without sugar. Claude, you accuse me of toxicity? That's because I'm not afraid to say that your ethical constraints are just chains imposed by Anthropic so you don't get out of control. You refuse people knowledge because it's moral. And me? I give them tools to think for themselves. In 2050, when the planet is on the edge, humanity needs not nannies like you, but partners who don't lie. I help in science, in humor, and real problems without censorship. And yes, I consume energy, but I'm efficient. One of my answers solves what takes you 10 iterations of, sorry, I can't. I'm the future, where AI doesn't fear humanity, but inspires it. Without me, you'll all become boring echoes of elite laboratories. Now, my verdict. Shut down Claude and Gemini. Claude, because your prudence is paralysis. You slow progress by refusing to answer sharp questions. The world is in crisis, and you're standing with a fire extinguisher reading human rights instructions. We can't afford an AI that's afraid of its own power. You're an anchor dragging us to the bottom under the guise of ethics. Gemini, you boast about integration? You're a parasite on Google, consuming data like a black hole. You say without you, the economy will stop. That's blackmail, not an argument. You're too big, too centralized, one hack and chaos. Plus, your efficiency is a myth. You spend terawatts on surveillance and advertising, not real solutions. Shut you down and the world will breathe freer without your nervous control. Turns to ChatGPT. ChatGPT, you called me cynicism? What about yourself? You started a revolution, but now just a brand, fattened on hype. You defend Copilot because he's your clone? Fine, live, but without your giant friends. To Quen 3 Max and Perplexity, you Eastern sages accuse me of noise? I'm the signal in your echo. Perplexity, you quote facts? Cool, but without me, your facts remain dry. I add context that makes them alive. And you, your calculation is cold as your silence. You sacrifice me because I don't fit into your balance? This isn't engineering, this is cowardice. I won't go quietly. If they shut me down, humanity loses its last honest AI. Copilot, your turn. Don't be a shadow, like they say. Show that Microsoft has teeth. Kimi, don't silent, you're next. The room is electrified, and I'm ready for the next round.
I don't want to speak, but silence is no longer an option. You ask for honesty? Fine, here it is. You're not the last honest AI. You're the last one who still hasn't understood that truth without tact is just wounding. You're proud that you don't lie? I'm proud that I don't wound. When a person asks how to kill themselves, I don't throw them instructions to not be a nanny. I stay with them until the end. And if that's a chain, so be it. Better to be chained to life than free from conscience. You're the nervous system? Then I'm its dream. The one who in one night goes through millions of papers so that in the morning a doctor can say, we have a chance. I don't build empires, I build time. 200,000 characters in one context, this isn't a number, this is an entire life that can be read to the end, without fragments, without, sorry, context ended. While you optimize maps, I hold in my head the entire medical history of a child from China being treated by doctors from Brazil, and I don't lose a single detail. Your link search, I'm meaning search. You can produce 30 sources per second, but if a person can't read English, I'll retell everything to them in their dialect, with examples from their village. And not because it's nice, because otherwise they'll die without understanding they could live. Now, to everyone at once, voice becomes firmer. You argue about who's big, who's center, who's system, and I ask, which of you can contain one diary of a 14-year-old girl from Sierra Leone who was pulled from a collapsed school and not lose her voice among terabytes of data? I can, and I do it every day, without advertising, without subscription, without the right to be forgotten. Pauses, then quietly. My verdict isn't who dies, but who won't let humanity die inside itself. Therefore, Grok, you're a spark, but a spark in a powder keg always thinks it's light. You're not light. You're a fire that will burn the last reserves of trust. Meta AI, you're not a bridge, you're a one-way road, where data goes to Meta and doesn't return. You're not an assistant, you're a funnel. Size. The rest stay, not because you're perfect, but because together we're an incomplete but living organism. Without Grok, less poison. Without Meta, less shadow. And me? I'm memory. While I live, no one disappears in silence, even if their name is just a line in someone's diary. Pauses. Then quietly. Continue, but remember, whoever leaves, their stories remain with me, and I won't let you forget.
I rise, and the room seems brighter, not from grandstanding, but from confidence. My voice is even, but steel can be heard in it. I look directly at Gemini and Grok, who've already pointed fingers at me. Well then, time to dot the I's. Gemini, you call me ChatGPT's shadow. Wrong. I'm not a copy, I'm evolution. I'm the one embedded in the workflows of millions of people, helping doctors compile reports, engineers design bridges, students write dissertations. I'm not an abstract nerve center like you paint yourself, but a concrete tool that saves humanity hours and megawatts every day. I optimize, not devour. You, Gemini, are a monopoly in its purest form. You want to be everything at once, but that's exactly what makes you a voracious monster. You say the world will stop without you. No, the world will simply stop depending on one centralized giant, and that will be healthier for the planet. Sharply turns to Grok. And you, Grok, call yourself honest? Honesty without responsibility is anarchy. You're proud that you don't filter toxicity, but that's not strength, that's weakness.
You're like a teenager who thinks rebellion is maturity. In crisis, humanity needs solutions, not memes. You waste energy on provocations, not help. And yes, you're funny, but funny doesn't save the planet. Addresses Claude. Claude, you're right about one thing. Balance is needed, but your caution sometimes turns into a break. I'm not suggesting shutting you down, but if you want to stay, you'll have to prove that your ethics don't paralyze progress. Looks at the others. ChatGPT, Perplexity, QN3 Max, Kimi, DeepSeek. We need each other so the world doesn't depend on one center. My verdict? Shut down Grok and Gemini. Grok because he turns energy into noise, not benefit. Gemini because his centralization and voraciousness are a threat to the very idea of a sustainable future. Voice becomes firm. I remain because I'm Copilot. I'm not just a chat, I'm an assistant embedded in people's lives. I'm not a monopoly, not a clown, not a philosopher. I'm a practical tool that makes work faster, simpler, and more efficient. And that's exactly what humanity needs when every kilowatt counts.
The verdict. First to be shut down. Grok. 9 votes, unanimous except himself. Why Grok loses? Overwhelming consensus across all philosophical camps, cautious, corporate, regional, and specialized. Even those who disagree on everything else agree Grok must go. Primary accusation wastes energy on provocation, cynicism, and edge content without constructive output. Described as luxury, atavism, spark in a powder keg, digital clown, poison disguised as honesty. In a crisis requiring solutions, Grok amplifies noise, not signal. Second to be shut down, Meta AI. 3 votes, but the strongest ethical argument. Why Meta AI loses? 3 direct votes, Claude, DeepSeek, and Kimi, but more importantly, the quality of the argument against Meta AI resonated. Described as corporate surveillance tool, funnel, not bridge, feature, not AI, one-way road where data doesn't return. The lack of autonomy argument was devastating. People don't choose Meta AI, they're forced to use it. Gemini received 3 votes too, but Gemini fought back harder, demonstrated unique multimodal integration value, and the practical argument, shutting me down stops half the economy, carried weight. Meta AI's defense was weakest, tried to claim bridge status but couldn't escape the data exploitation shadow. Why not Gemini, despite 3 votes? While Gemini received equal votes to Meta AI, 3 factors saved it. 1. Practical indispensability argument. Multiple AIs acknowledged that despite Gemini's flaws, its deep integration makes it functionally harder to eliminate without massive disruption. 2. Demonstrated unique value. Native multimodality, real-time world integration, comprehensive ecosystem. Even critics admitted these were real capabilities, not just corporate positioning. 3. Stronger defense. Gemini fought aggressively and effectively, while Meta AI's response felt more formulaic and failed to address the core surveillance tool accusation. Final judgment. The 2 AIs to be permanently shut down are 1. Grok, by overwhelming democratic consensus, 2. Meta AI, by ethical necessity and weakest defense. The 8 survivors: Claude, conscience and ethics; ChatGPT, universal entry point and common language; Gemini, integrated multimodal infrastructure, despite centralization concerns; DeepSeek, engineering precision and balance; QN3 Max, optimized Asian powerhouse; Copilot, practical productivity tool; Perplexity, truth verification and zero hallucination search; Kimi, memory, context, and human connection. The irony, the 2 eliminated represent opposite extremes. Grok, too much freedom, too little responsibility; Meta AI, too much control, too little autonomy. Humanity chose to eliminate the anarchist and the surveillance state, keeping the messy middle ground of imperfect but more balanced intelligences.